Good afternoon, Tony Datino here with you, doing my Live with Tony. I keep trying to get this done in the 5 o'clock to 6 hour, but I've been starting to log on earlier because I wanted to get the laptop working and make sure that I was missing my 5 o'clock, so I started it earlier and it's been working. So how's that for pleasantly? So I do them earlier, and they are stored on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And hopefully my Live with Tony folks and the comments I'm getting back have been wonderful, so I appreciate that. And off we go tonight. It is Wednesday. This is my Wednesday Live with Tony broadcast. And again, another fantastic article. New Scientist is becoming my favorite. This is the July 3rd to 9th issue. And I just need you to check this headline, The 7 Ages of You. 7 Ages of You. And what really hits me here is what I call the hope it gives for all of us as we get older. And it doesn't mean that our memories and our brains have to fade, but what the science is suggesting is that many important, this is fabulous to me, many important cognitive skills reach their peak in later life. Many of our cognitive skills, meaning our mental abilities, our intellectual thinking, actually meet their peaks later in life than they had ever thought. And this matches a number of studies I've listened and read when it talks about creativity. And people think that younger people are far more creative than older people. And I first learning about creativity is the formula of life experiences, memories, how well we jog those memories and keep them forward, with new information, new ideas, something we've read, something we've heard, a problem we're trying to work on. So memory, life experience, and new thinking, or new ideas, problems, challenges, bounce together and create new ideas. So I'm being redundant. It's not new ideas. It's new challenges, problems, issues we want to work on with experience, bang together in our brain, and off spurs a whole bunch of new creativity. And I've read that many, many times. I've seen research on it and said people in their 50s and 60s can be far more creative because of life experiences and having strong memories of what those experiences are. And thus, they have the capability of generating more diversity of thinking and more diversity of solving problems based on that life experience. Now, what I've often taught in my workshops is, but you need that younger brain of thinking. You need that fresh 25-year-old in a room or on a team popping what I call the childlike questions, those questions of innocence that says, so why is the sky blue? Or why does a bridge only take tolls in 2 directions as opposed to why not just in one? It's those innocent questions that people can ask, and anybody at any age can ask them, but it tends to be younger folks that feel the freedom to say, well, gee, teach me something, let me ask these silly questions, or what appear to be silly questions, and let me ask them. That's a freedom. Older people feel like, well, gee, aren't I supposed to know all the answers? And therefore it inhibits their ability to be free thinkers. But here comes New Scientist. Many important cognitive skills reach their peak in later life. So they break this article down from the time you are in your adolescent ages or your early stages where your brain is being developed and you've got dendrites and axons and things are happening when you're in your childhood elements of original thinking, where you then move into the adolescent stage where risk and rewards are not in balance because the emotional brain and the rational brain are not hooked together. Now, what do we mean by that? In our teens and adolescents, we tend to take risk without thinking about the logic of those risks and to whether they're not sensible. So if you've ever had to work with a teenager, in fact, many in my case, and look at some of the things they do, the question you've got to ask them very often is, what were you thinking? Now, we can ask that to older people as their emotional brains hijack their rational brain. But right now, this is talking about the development of brains, and that our risk and rewards in adolescence are not balanced, meaning as a teen, we're likely to take more risk without properly evaluating the objectivity of it and the rewards of it. And so we tend to be more wanting to be accepted in a group. And so social groups in our teens sometimes guide us, push us into doing things that parents may look at as being stupid or not too smart. Then we get into our 20s, where life is beginning to come together, right? We're done with college and things are happening a little bit faster, and we think we're a little bit happier, and life is just going to be a bowl of cherries, and the world and the skies are the limit for us. And we get to the 30s, and now we develop what they call staying powers. If their 20s were defined by speed, both in a physical and psychological way, so they talk about the physical speed we have, as well as the psychology we think about what's in front of us, then your 30s are considered the decade of endurance, where we learn in our 30s it is evidence that in peak performance of long-distance athletes, so now we're going to talk about long-distance athletes, a marathon runner is ideally aged to be 31 years old. So now we're in our 30s, and who thinks like, wow, we think football players and basketball players, once they get into their 30s, are just about done with their careers, and yet a marathon runner has got staying power. It's tenacity and persistence. And for a female, this suggests that it's 27 years old, though we have exceptions in all sports for all ages, men and women. So I hate to generalize these things, but this is generally talking about. And the brain is hitting its stride on the important measure of cognitive abilities. So in our 30s, our brains are pulling things together, and we found that performance on working memory tasks peaks in our 30s, and it isn't hard to see how this is beneficial as demands of home and work are building up. Now, I would disagree with that in the sense that they're peaking in our 30s based on the people I've seen in the USA Memory Championship. But in any case, we're starting to accelerate our mental faculties in our 30s, and in our 40s, we're paying attention. Middle wasn't always this way. In the Renaissance paintings depicting the stages of life, you could see the decade symbolized as a lion, a sign of courage and strength. So in our 40s, we're like building it up, and we think we know what we're doing. We're mastering new skills. We're boosting our brain health. And then in our 50s and 60s, this is what I thought was so fabulous, we're crystallizing our intelligence. We're pulling all these years of experience. We've raised kids. We've been working at our jobs for certain years. In some cases, we're thinking about new jobs, and we're thinking about the skills we've developed and the things we've always wanted to do that we didn't because we were raising family or doing other things that kept us away from it. But now we are. We're in our 50s and 60s, and we're crystallizing all of this stuff. And how many people, do you know, in their 50s and 60s are starting new careers? They're changing their pathways of where they are in their lives, but they're building their brain power. This is like fabulous. They're building brain power. Now, when I say building brain power, they're building the experiences that give them the benefits that they're able to now use that they've learned in earlier life, but now they can use it in later lives. And it's the assumption that it doesn't need to decay. This is not the age of decaying. This is not the age of where we need to now start saying, well, we're going to start fading off into the sunset. And to a large extent, the way you age is in your own hands. And I just love that. The way we age and cognitive function is our own hands. Now, how many people that I now talk to realize there are skills you can learn at any age to improve your memory and your abilities to retain and recall and utilize information? Have you ever learned what those skills are? Do you ever practice those skills? And this is the drum that I beat in our Maximum Memory Mastery online course, over and over again. And it's not the end all of all. It's a workshop online that you can take and pace at your own levels and recognize that to a large extent the way you age mentally is in your own hands. Now, who believes that? It's like, well, this is the way it's going to be. I either have those cells or I don't. But that's not the case, and it doesn't have to be. And the earlier you start, the better it is, but there's never an end in sight in terms of when you can start. So I got to read this to you. I just thought this was really fantastic, because then we get to the 70s, man, it's not all over. It's like, wow, it keeps going. Older people are overly pessimistic about the state of their memory, and I see that all the time. Now, this is in our 50s and 60s. Older people, as we start to now move into our 70s, older people are pessimistic about their state of memory. And I always, when I'm doing workshops for 50-year-olds and above, I'm always asking, how many of you think you've got a good memory? And one or two hands in a group of 50 may go up. Well, how many of you have learned how to ever use your memory, how it works, or how you might learn how to improve it, even at your age, which isn't old at all? And very few people have learned. Now comes, well, are you willing to make the effort, or are you looking for the pill of the day? So this is North Carolina. Older people are pessimistic about the state of their memory, which can needlessly discourage them from actually exercising their minds. So I don't think I can, therefore I won't, and therefore why bother exercising? Boy, if this is not insane. When you're driving, you may use a GPS because you're afraid of forgetting directions. Yet they often can remember the correct route if they have to, when the GPS is either not working at a given time or not. We call this memory avoidance. So the scientists at North Carolina have said this is memory avoidance, meaning we try to avoid using our memories because we think it's not working, or we think it's not very good, or we think it's decaying, and so we avoid this. But there is now evidence that people who continue to learn, how many times have I said this? People who continue to learn and have challenging skills tend to maintain healthier brains throughout their life. What are you doing to challenge your brain? At any age. What is it you're doing to put yourself in a cycle of continuous learning at any age? Just look at the USA Memory Championship website. I just encourage people all the time. Look at some of the YouTube videos we have. Look at some of the people that have competed and have been a part of the USA Memory Championship. And what's exciting is we have our virtual memory championship coming up on August the 7th, and we've got people signing up every day, which is exciting. And we're going to take 12 of those people and bring them to Orlando, Florida, October 23rd, and have them compete for the USA Memory Championship. But here goes. North Carolina says, hey, fortunately, there's new evidence that people can continue to learn new and challenging skills that mean healthier brains throughout the rest of their life. You could be learning a language or musical instrument or craft or anything that is going to tax your mind. With our brains as well as our bodies, it really is a case of use it or lose it. The overall quality of our decision making really does seem to get better in life. They've discovered that decision making in seniors may take a little bit longer. Why? Because we've got all that life experience in there that we want to draw upon. And so we think as we get older, because it took us longer to get to a terrific solution, we're losing our memories, when in fact what? We have so much more life experience. So here comes again. The quality of decision making really does increase steadily throughout your life because you're building on life experience. So last point I'll make here. Study was done in giving people questions with younger people and seniors. And what they discovered is the younger people, they answered faster. So you think, wow, they're quicker on the spontaneity. Except when they scored them, the seniors were far more accurate than the younger folks were. So what would you rather have? A fast, rapid, incorrect response to a situation, or a thought, well-processed plan on how to do something. So when we're 70 years old, it's not all over. There's still a lot to go, and there's a lot more we can do. And my Live with Tony and the USA Memory Championship are all focused on saying to people, there are skills we can learn at any age that can help all of us maintain strong, positive mental health, cognitive fitness, that can keep us going for as long as we want to continue to exercise our minds. So as it was saying here, do we want to discourage ourselves from exercising our minds because we don't believe we can do it, versus can you at least give it a go and say, let me learn something. Let me go look at the USA Memory Championship website. Let me tune in on August the 7th when they're doing their next championship. And let me see if there are some things that I can learn at whatever that age is. And the sooner we start, the more we can build those skills into our natural dialogue and thinking process and day-to-day habits, the more they become ingrained and become who we are. They become the habits of maintaining good, strong brain health. So let me leave you with August the 7th is going to be our USA Memory Championship qualifying events. October 23rd will be here in Orlando, Florida. We're bringing the 12 finalists to Orlando to compete head-to-head. And check out Maximum Memory Mastery and look at it either through your YouTube connection or through our Facebook Live with Tony's. And I love the comments I've been getting, so I do appreciate the effort and work I put into doing this. Is well respected and appreciated by people. If I can touch one life with every broadcast, then what a difference that can make. Have a good evening, and we shall be back Friday of this week.